Watch News Weekly, and it's an exciting one, and you'll know exactly why when we go to our first topic, and that is Audemars Piguet's releases of the new models for its 150th anniversary. Slate of new releases, right? And it really showcases the brand's legacy, I would say. From a trio of perpetual calendars to the final iteration of the Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar Open Work. They also expanded the Code 1159 and the Royal Oak Offshore collections with basically fresh designs, new colors, and some technical refinements as well. 3 new perpetual calendar models, right? New movement. All right, it's a newly developed caliber 7138. And this is a result of 5 years of development. Now, all calendar functions can now be adjusted from the crown. As much as I love AP, I have to say what everybody else has said, a bit late to the game. 1985, Kurt Klaus, IWC, the Da Vinci Perpetual first did that, where you don't need a little pusher in order to set your perpetual calendar. And it still maintains the automatic adjustment for leap years. Let's go to the Code 1159. The self-winding perpetual comes with this baby blue sort of fume dial. And it's not really that big of a fume dial. It's the sub-dials that I feel make that effect even better given the dial depth. And again, this is just me. Rubber-coated blue matching strap. I told you guys before, I like the Code 1159. Again, a bit biased. I do love the brand, and I do like the fact that there is something else outside of the world of Royal Oaks when it comes to Audemars Piguet. And then, of course, we're gonna go to the new Perpetual Royal Oaks. One being in 18 karat sand gold, which is a new name for gold that I first saw that in the skeleton perpetual that they came out with, the one that Serena Williams was wearing, I believe. I will tell you right now, the pictures don't do that justice. It's actually a bit louder in this picture. It's a bit more subdued, but it does give you like a very special, I don't know, feel. Like you have to actually physically see that sand gold to really, really appreciate it. I love the fact that the dial is to match, so everything sort of blends in, but yet it stays perfectly legible. And of course, they did the same thing in stainless steel. Price on the stainless steel, 109 grand. The sand gold, we don't know yet, it's on request. And here comes the banger, as I called it. Waco put this on his story. He was in Le Brassus at Audemars Piguet, and he showed that watch on his story. I literally reposted it and said, bring that one home, kidney in hand. Like, that's a watch that you want to talk about the ultimate collectible, sort of the legacy piece to finish off the collection of perpetual calendar skeletons for Audemars Piguet. I don't think they could have done a better job. MSRP on request, I'm guessing, I don't know, I probably would put this in the realm of mid 100s in terms of retail. Again, this is just a guess, right? This took inspiration from a perpetual calendar pocket watch, the reference 25729. That one came with diamond markers on the dial, where this one gives you luminous markers, obviously for legibility. A couple of new offshores, both in the 43 millimeters. They did a green ceramic and they did a black ceramic. The ceramic game for Audemars Piguet is probably the strongest in the entire industry. They're the trendsetters most of the times, always have been among many things. The green ceramic in 43 millimeters with the interchangeable straps, extremely wearable watch. It's not as big as its predecessors. It's a lot more ergonomic. Same goes for the black, obviously. Now, the green ceramic, the MSRP is going to be 58.4. The black one is going to be 86.9 because that one is on a bracelet, and rightfully so. Now that they scale it down to 43 millimeters, I think they'll have a lot better luck with that model. AP is always flexing their muscles in the world of high complications. This is what they're known for. They can do things that others can't do. And of course, I'm talking about the Grand Sonnerie, Super Sonnerie, that is. It's a pair, right? And one cannot be more different from another. Pink gold model has the iridescent opal dial, and it's a harlequin opal. And for the other one, which they made in sand gold, which you can see on this picture, the clear difference in sand gold and pink gold, they have a ceramic mid case, which I absolutely love. They have a sapphire dial, so this thing is literally all see-through. You can see right through it. Sonneries or super sonneries, there is a difference. A super sonnerie is something that basically outperforms other chiming watches. They give, I would say, a clearer chimes. And again, it's all about how you make the case, and it's all about the gong constructions. And let's move on to a couple of other Code 1159s. These you have seen in the past. These are chronos and automatics and just different colorways, right? Gray has been on a rise, I feel like, you know, we go through phases in the watch industry. Well, first it was the blue dial, that was it. Then we went to the green dial, which is still sort of lingering. People want the green dial. But these different color bluish grays are coming through, and they're coming through strong. But I think the grays and the blues in these watches really work well off of each other. And sometimes it's about tweaking the colors just a little bit, and all of a sudden you have a brand new watch. I know a lot of clients of mine, they like to change straps around, and it just gives them a brand new look and feel to a watch. And oftentimes, some manufacturers don't do a good job with matching a strap to the watch. They just give you something safe, like a black strap or a brown strap, right? And oftentimes you can change that. The subtle changes will make all the differences. Another 1159 chronograph, this is the Tuscany Special Edition. This is the first time the collection features the Tuscany blue grain dial. Blue ceramic in the mid case, once again, 18 karat white gold on the outside. The markers are set with baguette cut diamonds. That combination of white and blue and the baguette diamonds, I think it's a very, very nice touch for this chronograph. MSRP, not cheap, $85,600, but certainly a good looking watch. And of course, ladies or men, again, this could go either way. So flying tourbillon in 38 millimeter, right? And this is the first time that this complication actually appears in a smaller cased code 1159 lineup, right? Going with sand gold again. Diamonds are there, but they're not there, right? Most of the diamonds you see are on the lugs. Most of the diamonds you see are on the side of the watch. Surprised they didn't put diamonds on a dial or perhaps something around the bezel, right? Because all they did is they did the middle case. But again, if I put myself in the shoes of the designer that did this, maybe he wanted to really exclamate the mid case, which is technically a Royal Oak that's sandwiched in between, right? Price upon request, I'm sure this watch is not cheap. I have my reservations about this watch, but nevertheless, as far as I'm concerned, AP knocked it out of the park. Audemars Piguet does a wonderful job. Bravo AP, there isn't a single release in here that I don't like, but then again, I am biased. Next bit of news, I'm sure some of you guys may have heard, Watches of Switzerland will open the 4-story, 7,200 square foot Rolex boutique on March 13th on Bond Street in the middle of London. Now, I was there. Last time I was in London, I was there when they were still under construction. Everything was covered and sealed and so on and so forth. To do that, they actually cleared all other Rolex points of sale on Bond Street. Here's my thing with this. I've been to Bond Street and I spoke to some of the dealers that have stores there. I walk up to my friend's store. I've done business with the guy for over 10 years. And I pull up, it's a regular weekday, and I'm like, is he even open? I looked inside the windows. There's no showcases in the windows. Nothing is displayed. And the windows are closed off with these gates that you can see through, like decorative gates. And so I called the guy, I'm not gonna mention his name. I'm like, are you not open? He's like, oh, we're open. I'm like, doesn't look like it. He comes outside, brings me inside. He says, we don't all put anything on display. We even removed the empty showcases that we had here. Everything is in the back, hidden away, appointment only. And I'm like, why? He says, well, because it isn't safe. He said, there was a guy that was literally stabbed around the corner from my store last night. We're talking Bond Street. We're talking about the most prominent street in all of the UK, right? If not the world. And so with these guys putting up this 4-story Rolex boutique, I don't know. You know, I spoke to a multitude of dealers there. If you guys caught the video of me going to London, you see me running away from Haddon Gardens because somebody spotted us wearing watches, called somebody to come get us kind of thing. It's a big investment into that boutique. Now, granted, it's Rolex, and Rolex never has an issue selling, but the whole situation, like I wouldn't go shopping on Bond Street. You go into a fancy store on Bond Street, be it Gucci, Prada, whatever it might be, they literally give you a plain bag. They don't want you walking out with a Prada bag because they're concerned for your safety. That 4-story Rolex boutique is great and all. I certainly wouldn't want to be the guy to walk in there and walk out with a Rolex bag. How about that? Regardless of what Rolex that they give me. On to GP. Girard-Perregaux and Aston Martin's new car paint dial. The new titanium watch has what's called an iridescent dial, and it's made with car paint. And depending on the light, it actually will change its hue. It is a Lariato, surprise, surprise, comes in titanium case and bracelet. The iridescence comes from 15 layers of automotive paint. That's how they get it done. With the watch debuting back in 1975, before the Nautilus, this year it celebrates its 50th anniversary. And I like funky dials. I like gimmicky things, and it's very gimmicky if it's an Aston Martin version to utilize car paint in order to create specific effect. So I do like this watch. I think the Lariato is one of the classics, alongside with the Nautilus, alongside with the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, right, or the IWC Ingenieur. I feel that there should have been something a little bit extra to this. While the dial is great, I feel like it gets lost in the steel case and the bracelet. Like a dial like this, you really want to accentuate. So I would love to see a strap version of this, like a matching rubber strap with this watch. Or maybe if it came with both would be great. But nevertheless, knocked it out of the park with the dial. Again, Lariato is a classic. I can never talk bad about them, but could have been a little bit more creativity here for the 50th anniversary of the Lariato. Moser finally opens up its first boutique. Speaking of Moser, I'm wearing one. Moser finally opens up its first boutique, and where? Fifth Avenue? No. Rodeo Drive? No. Silicon Valley. It's launching a new limited edition gold streamliner to celebrate. Edouard Malin, the CEO, met the guy, great guy by the way. They basically said that Silicon Valley has always been a key market for Moser. I thought about that when I read it, and I said, well, wait a minute, let me look something up. I actually looked up clients that bought Mosers from us, and lo and behold, mostly techie guys. And most of them are where? Most of them are in Silicon Valley. A lot of Facebook guys, a lot of Google guys. I said to myself, well, it matches, right? So that's why I said, if this is the decision that they made, maybe it's also a safety thing. Rodeo Drive. Last time I was on Rodeo Drive with my wife, I saw a couple of private security guys walking around with machine guns, which I wasn't a big fan of. And this is in America now, we're not on Bond Street. So I guess the decision to do it in Silicon Valley obviously was based on real data, and obviously there is a big market for them over there. To celebrate it, they did an 18 karat gold 40 millimeters streamliner Tourbillon skeleton. We saw the skeleton when I was in Geneva last year in stainless steel. I saw this thing, and I love the fact that they did it in yellow gold, not in rose gold. People ask me about why do I like Moser, specifically streamliners, is I tell them due to the organic design of both the case and the bracelet. It's very, there's no really clean, sharp lines. It's very, very, very organic, both the case and the bracelet and the way it blends together. My favorite watch prior to this, if you want to talk about precious metals, was the Vanta Black Rose Gold. And the reason I like that is because that dial looked extremely striking against the rose gold. Now with the yellow gold they came out with the skeleton, if you want to talk about organic, if you want to talk about natural, when you think of gold, anybody thinks of gold, they don't think rose, they think yellow. And I think this fits the bill perfectly. I can't wait to see this thing at Watches and Wonders coming up. Richard Mille, 7402 automatic tourbillon gold quartz TPT. What is gold quartz TPT? A precious material, I guess you can say, because what they did is they combined ultra thin quartz fibers with 22 karat red gold leaves, right? And created a case design that both durable and eye catching. Richard Mille does what Richard Mille does best, not only on the complication side, but also on material use side. TPT has been in their genre forever. They were the only company that managed to take carbon and make it into something else, and it took off, and it's still taking off, and people are still talking about it, and they still want it, right? They use a layering process to create this, so what that means, and it's a guarantee, that they guarantee that no two watches are actually exactly alike, so I guess every one of them is a piece unique. Retail prices as expected, the moon, $603,000. This watch, especially on the bracelet, will be a fashion statement. Expect to see this on lots of celebrities out there, male and female alike. Technically, this is supposed to be a female watch. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to see this, especially on that bracelet, you're going to see that on the wrist of lots of prominent celebrities out there. It's a great looking watch. The fact that they were able to combine gold with carbon, or TPT as they call it, is amazing. It almost looks like they create a block and slice the case out of it. As you can see, the lines of gold going through, all the way through the case. Like if I ever bring that watch home, my wife will never let me leave with that watch. That is a beautiful, beautiful watch. Speaking of exciting news, you guys know I'm a Formula One fanatic. You guys also know that I'm a big Mercedes fan. And finally, there's a watch that came out that doesn't look like every other watch that IWC makes. That's specific to Mercedes-Benz. More specifically to the big dog in charge, Toto Wolff. This is called the IWC Big Pilots Watch Shock Absorber XLP. 100 pieces, right? And it's all about ruggedness as an everyday piece. It's got IWC's Spring G Protect shock absorber system, which helps to handle the serious impacts, right? So you can literally bang that watch against the wall and it will keep on ticking for you due to the shock absorbers. Now, it goes hand in hand with Formula One racing. The G-forces that these drivers experience are insane. Of course, drivers don't wear watches during the race, but the minute they're out of their car, the first thing that goes on is that watch. It's made out of titanium, very durable material, but also very light, right? Of course, the black dial pops with Petronas green accents, including a glowing superluminova coating. Aesthetically, love the watch. When they came out with the first AMG watch, which was just a regular pilot chrono, that they put an AMG Petronas color strap on it and the markers were to match. I literally ordered that watch while I was at the race in Miami. The funny story goes is that I ordered the watch and I put a screenshot from IWC.com on my story, say, got it, right? And all of a sudden, I think so much time later, the thing gets sold out. I go to Adrian, I'm like, look, I bought the watch, I posted it online, and look, hours later, it's sold out. I must be an influencer. And Adrian looks at me, he goes, yeah, Roman, there's this other guy, maybe you heard of him, his name is Lewis Hamilton, that wore that watch, perhaps may has something to do with him rather than you. I said, yeah, you're probably right, but I love this particular watch. In fact, I look forward to seeing this thing live when I get to Geneva. I actually want to try it on, and I think it might be one of those that I will put in my collection because I'm a diehard Mercedes Formula One fan. Frank Villa, or Atelier FVF Genève, created his second creation. Last time I was in Geneva, I saw his tourbillon. Now, we know that he sold his own brand, Frank Villa. Okay, he returned after the fact, I guess when his non-competes or whatever was over. So the FVF2, it represents the dress watch. A bit of an understated approach, right? Lightweight titanium, strong unibody construction with kind of like a sleek aesthetic, if you ask me. Two watches are presented. One with a black dial, and the second one in a special edition limited to 8 pieces, which will feature a light blue dial and a platinum bezel. 39.5 millimeters in diameter, just the right size. $93,000 for the titanium with a black dial, $99,000 for the special edition titanium with the platinum bezel. If you remember his first version, maybe we can pop it up on the screen, and you look at this version, you're like, well, wait a minute. Well, this is a bit of a far cry from the first watch. Knowing Frank Villa, knowing the quality of his finishes and the quality of what he actually makes, I'm sure that when I see this watch in Geneva and I flip it over and I loop that movement, it's going to look tremendous. I like the aesthetic. I like the plain, minimal, but very, very modern aesthetic. And to say that this is a dress watch, yes, but I can also say that this could be a sports watch. Of course, I like the baby blue. I want to see this watch in person just to make my final judgment, if you will. Bell & Ross. Now, we know Bell & Ross is synonymous with air travel, right? Pilots' watches, et cetera, right? Well, now they're pushing the boundaries with space, right? And they made this BR03 Astro that is completely inspired by space. 41 millimeter case, square. Of course, it's going to wear bigger. Remember, a square case of 41 millimeters will wear much bigger than a round case. The sapphire crystal is hollowed at its center in the shape of a spherical cap, and it sort of adds to the depth of the earth within. Limited edition, 999 pieces. And of course, the function of the small satellite marks the seconds, completing a full orbit around Earth in 60 seconds. The moon tracks the minutes, and Mars follows its graduated path to indicate the hours. MSRP, very affordable, $4,800. I think this guy will be a hit. I remember the days when they came out with these super limited editions. I think that doing what they did with the crystal, adding the depth to the Earth, again, a watch I would love to see in person when I'm in Geneva, because based on what I see on the pictures, I like it. Of course, there were more, and there will be more. I could only talk about so many new releases because right now we're around the time where companies are lifting the embargoes, showing their stuff to lead up to the Super Bowl of all watches, that is Watches and Wonders. I will be there. I will be meeting with many of these companies. So I will be bringing you some live shots via Instagram and, of course, to go on my YouTube channel while I visit these brands. Hope you enjoyed today's episodes. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.